Last week, on a wet and windy night, with no motivation to finish my college assignments, I began to peruse the internet as a way to procrastinate, as we all often do. Having completed Sonic the Hedgehog on an emulator a few hours earlier, I was in a nostalgic mood. After searching YouTube for old Sega Genesis commercials, my fingers still lingered on the mouse. I kept clicking on the suggested videos and reliving old memories from my childhood. I felt a comfort one only gets from seeing things you never really knew had such an influence on you when you were so young and innocent. Soon I was lost, reveling in such classics as Melts in Your Mouth, Not in Your Hand. Who loves orange soda? No soup for you! How you doing? Come with me if you want to live. The truth is out there. And of course, what's up? I only realized that I'd lost track of time when I tried to find my phone in what was now a pitch-dark room. Checking the time on my monitor, I was shocked to find it was already 2 a.m. I resolved to go to bed as I had class in the morning, but couldn't resist watching one last video, just to round off the night. Had a big night going. Scanning through the suggestions, I was disappointed to find that I'd watched them all, except for this one video at the very bottom, entitled, Bill Cosby Sells His Soul for Pudding. Although I had a vague idea of who Bill Cosby was from old Simpsons episodes, I'd never actually seen anything he was famous for. I think he was only in one Simpsons episode years ago for about 5 seconds, but okay. But I'll admit the title intrigued me somewhat. As I clicked the link and sat back to be entertained, I had no idea that I was making the biggest mistake of my life. The video started off innocently enough. Innocently is capitalized, I'm not sure why. Obviously some old commercial for gelatin. Bill Cosby was standing in a kitchen surrounded by little kids. There's an easy way to make Jell-O instant pudding. Just shake it, he announced in a cheery voice. The video, again capitalized, skipped a bit at this point, lingering on the shake it part. A tad annoying, but the internet in the house could become a little jittery at times, so I was used to it. It's those damn pipes. The video, series of tubes, cut to Cosby's head moving in from left of the screen. Follow the directions, he said. I wasn't sure why at the time, but something about this was vaguely unsettling, though I thought perhaps it was due to the fact that it was a sudden jump cut, or that he raped over 20 women. A mangled version of the product jingle played, then it cut back to, Follow the directions, only slower. My brow furrowed. The next part was from a different advert. Cosby was holding 4 jiggling watermelons. The movement seemed to be semi-cyclical, moving from the start to the back and back again. It was hypnotic and quite nauseating, which made it all the more abrupt when the audio cut to triple speed. What's making these watermelons wriggle? I felt at this point extremely uncomfortable, like my defenses were being broken down. I felt just like Jell-O gelatin. Cosby finished the thought for me several times. This was beginning to feel really weird. The scene cut to a ginger kid repeating the same movement over and over. That's it, I thought. Enough of this. Ginger kids freaked me out at the best of times. Well, that's discriminatory. As I raised my hand to move the mouse, however, something peculiar happened. A cut to Cosby again, moving his left hand in seemingly random directions, pudding pop in his right, repeating, this, or this, a number of times. My right hand immediately became stiff and started to spasm beyond my control, disrupting my path to the mouse. After that point on, I was powerless to control myself, forced to sit and witness that which was unfolding before me, regardless of will. At this point of no return, Cosby lingered a look of surprise my way, almost mockingly, emitting a demonically low-pitched moan. I was scared. Another kid in the video seemed to echo my emotions. Hey, Bill Cosby, what's that? If I could have screamed at that point, I would have. Follow the directions, Cosby repeated horrifyingly. The mangled jingle played again for longer this time, each second forcibly propping up my eyelids somehow. The watermelon part reappeared even slower than before, but instead of being nauseated, I felt strangely lulled in subservience. The scene cut to a smiley-faced clock moving its hands in an almost wave-like pattern. a bit-crunched warning repeated almost too quick for me to make out. "You sing, you die! You sing, you die!" Before crunching completely to a jarring buzz, its eyes popping open and shutting at a speed greater than what should be physically possible. "Follow the directions! Follow the directions!" The video grinded to a complete halt. Cosby's judgmental eyes fixed squarely on mine, just long enough to make me feel a glimmer of hope that the internet had failed, before he whipped his head back, saying, "Don't worry," with a smug superiority. "Puddin' Pop Swirl!" the demon Cosby finished, before letting his head fly about erratically on his unmoving shoulders in a movement akin to something out of The Exorcist. What? It continued, as if to eradicate any morsel of critical thinking left in my mortal being. The demon proceeded to fillet a chocolate pudding pop with a sleazy, unholy glee. A close-up cut to its burningly erotic gaze left me with no semblance of the lie that I had not been violated. Even though the video quality was grainy, those eyes pierced into my very soul. They were so hyper-realistic. "Thank you," it finished, before poising itself like a cat ready to pounce. In the brief respite that followed, I allowed myself to exhale for the first time since the horror began. As the breath exuded, however, I felt my consciousness follow suit, all remnants of perception fading as I slipped into an abyss serenaded by the haunting echo of "Watermelons!" marking my descent into darkness until I knew no more. I came to by the sound of the front door closing downstairs. It was still dark outside. "Man, I must have been conked out for at least an hour," I thought to myself as I rubbed the back of my creaky neck on the way down to the kitchen. I felt exhausted as I pushed open the door, but I needed both water and to find out what the hell would be calling at this hour. Turns out it was just my housemate getting home from a nightclub. "Hey, man," I greeted him. "Didn't know you went out. Don't you have an exam in the morning? What's it, like 4 a.m.? "What are you talking about, dude?" he asked quizzically. "It's only 12:30, and that exam was this morning. You high or something?" At this point, I felt extremely muddled. "No, man, that can't be right. I fell asleep like 2 hours ago. We just finished playing Sonic the Hedgehog earlier on, remember?" "Dude, that was yesterday. I ain't seen you at all today. Whatever you're on, you gotta share it with me." He chuckled. My face knotted into a ball of puckering confusion. I simply turned to go check my calendar upstairs. He couldn't have been right. "Fine," he snorted. "And by the way, you owe me a box of pudding pops." "You owe me a box of pudding pops," he called after me. I froze in my tracks. "What did you say?" "My pudding pops. I had a whole box this morning, now they're gone." With that, I felt a tremendous fear and bolted up the stairs. "Hey, man, don't worry about it. I ain't mad. Just get some new ones when you come, that all," he shouted. I could barely hear him as though I raced to my room to check my computer. I thought it was just in power save mode when I woke up, but it wouldn't even turn on. The screen was on standby, and the actual computer was unresponsive. After much frenzied inspection, I found that the power cord had been cut. To say I was freaked out would have been a massive understatement. "What in the name of holy hell is going on?" I remember muttering to myself. It's been a whole week since then, and things have just been getting stranger and stranger. The blackouts are becoming longer, more frequent, and I can feel myself slipping away. Every time I've slept, I've been plagued by visions of the beast, Cosby, pudding and ginger kids everywhere. I've tried my best to fight it. I've been awake now for 48 hours, but it's no use. I can feel Bill Cosby's presence even in my waking moments. Sometimes I don't even know where I am, and I can't communicate in anything other than nonsensical jib-jabber and the flim-flam and the whatever. The Jello pudding. 2 days later, I suddenly snapped back to reality to find myself staring at my fridge, full to the brim with pudding pops. I screamed and tried to run, but immediately fell to the floor as I was wearing 2 halves of watermelon on my feet instead of shoes. I'm really scared. There's no one in the house anymore. All my housemates have what I in my delirium may have done, the atrocities that a monster may have used these hands for. I'm doomed. There's no hope for me. I realize that now. The reason I write this is to share my story so that whatever happens, I at least got to tell the tale of my side of it, and maybe spare some other potential victims the horror of this terrible fate. To those who loved me, my family, friends, try to remember me as I once was. To everyone else that is holy, whatever you do,
do not watch the video! Oh God, what's happening again? I can feel it. God, please, somebody, I can't hip-hop the hold down much longer. You keep it coming, Zim, somebody help me, Zim, Zam, zappity, help me. Zap me, zappity, mobbity, flip, flap,